The reason I came was that I was promised that, speaking at this venue, I'll get a car. I guess that's why also our function tonight, very simple one, is legal. Deputy Minister Matali is here. So we're all covered. Nobody gets arrested. So it's all legal. I came because I thought, like all of you, this evening is important and special. It's a literary evening. It's about a book. It has become quite commonplace at functions such as this one to begin to talk in a funereal sense about someone who was a struggle, activist, leader, veteran. It becomes repetitive. Mpho has just died, it will be the same thing. Since my pinda was struggling, was a leader, a thinker, activist. We say all these things, and in the end, the chewing gum loses its texture. I came to join you to talk about. You want to make it? Is joining school? I used to live in the Soviet Union and in Ukraine as well. So there's a war right now. Things are exploding. Because it's a literary night, about literature, it's about book. Not really about Nchabeleng, it's about Mpho. He wrote the book. The story of Nchabeleng is a story of our son. He decided to take a step to chronicle it, to write it, to produce it for posterity. This must be done. Otherwise, we will be forgotten as gay people. Look around in the world, black is no longer beautiful. If we have to leave the black continent to go and account in the White House, things are changing. We will lose our identity. I'll come back to that, but that's where we are. But I thought tonight, this evening, we should recognize an author. How about you? He's an African But I think because we've joined the ranks of authors, we should just recognize two. One passed away yesterday, and another one this morning. Yesterday, we saw the death of one of the leading African intellectuals, one of the leading authors, a literary giant, Kenyan-born Ngugi wa Thiong'o. A lot of us will not know that name, but if I say Shakespeare, you say, okay, yes, you like it, that's the book. Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, Julius Caesar, you all can. But if I say Ngugi wa Thiong'o, an African literary giant, Kenyan born. You may not even know his face. You know why? It's because we now have to account as black people, as the Black House to the White House. We're losing our focus. And it is at gatherings such as this one that old voices like ours, who just messengers, must remind us what we will mark. Otherwise, you'll always be caught like small children to an account. And when you account there, you go unprepared, you arrive there divided. And those South Africans were there. You know what I'm talking about? One thing that was very clear, our team was not adequately prepared. First, it was not prepared for the ambush. Secondly, they were not prepared for the context. And we were talking now as black and white, and sometimes are taking those you've left at home. Never do that when you are abroad. Can't have anybody say, yeah, we are now a friend of this one against those at home. Doesn't matter how different our views are. Doesn't matter. You will never talk against your own. But then you saw what happened. It's a lack of coordination, lack of understanding where we come from, and not knowing who is Nchabeleng. Second person that I thought we should just remember. By the way, Mpho Nchabeleng wrote 3 books, many books, but I just want to leave you with your fellow authors. Weep not child. Weep not child. Read that. Another one is The Grain of Wheat. We grew up with these books. And The River Between. I just leave it. I won't say this is not my job. Go on, have your phones, do your research. And try to catch up as to who we are. Otherwise, I said, you'll be caught. Because you don't know where you come from. And he decided to write all his books after some time in Kikuyu, the language of the Kenyans. He stopped writing in English. Hear what he was going to say. Second person I thought we should just pause and remember also wrote a book which is called A Diary from a South African Prison. He comes from the north. He's part of the Lions of the North. Dean Farisani. He died this week. You're an author. The same group as Dean Farisani. Read that book. Because Nchabeleng and his colleagues, all of us, starlets of us, like went through similar conditions as a diary from a South African prison. That's it. The Lion of the North. It means that day Nchabeleng used to call it the kite. From another book, because we're talking about literature tonight, not read about literature. This book was written by somebody who wrote a number of books in jail. He wrote a book called The Galatians, Letter to the Romans, Letter to the Corinthians. So you know it. He also wrote a letter to the Ephesians. He used to be Saul, his name was Saul. And along the way to Damascus in Syria, he changed because he was a Roman soldier, was torturing common people, was killing Christians, but he changed. And in changing, he changed also his name from Saul to Paul. Paul, the prisoner of Christ. So he wrote all these books from jail, by the way, political prison. I refer to the book called the Ephesians chapter 6, verse 2. It's helpful because a number of you are listening right. So tonight it is your attendant. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 2. What does it say? Very simple. Honor thy mother, honor thy father. So that your days must be extended. You may enjoy the joy of life. Honor thy father and thy mother. What Mpho is doing today is to honor. Thank you for honoring your own father and your mother and the whole family. Remember, we are also part of his family. We're Mandelas, we're Sisulus, we're Motsoalekis, we're Mbekis. The book written Lion of the North, the story of the struggle of the family. Yeah, the platonic family is Nero. We're even more of a family and dying with him than you. I met him. We're carrying guns. We're being kept by his father secretly in Lepelle, in Schoolland. I was straight from the Soviet Union, from Ukraine, in Kiev, and from Moscow. And we're hiding guns at your home. Mpho was 9 years old. He was 9. I had forgotten his age, so I asked him today, how old were you when you came there? Alright, effectively, he was 9. So you can see how far this thing comes. And we were camouflaged, carrying Soviet weapons, Czechoslovakian weapons, Cuban weapons, Chinese weapons, and hiding them at his home. In Sukukundeland, our unit was known as the Detachment of Lepelle. And we were sent there by Joe Slovo. Nchabeleng used to work with Joe. When Joe was away. The father worked with Joe as a messenger. We were sent by Moses Mabida and by Modisi. I was the head of that group. And ours was to come and stay with them and be in there. But when Johannesburg based, we retreat to the Belgium. This man, Nchabeleng, that's why I'm here. It's another story. These are stories we just heard. Nelson Mandela, Mbeki, the Iranian people. But when Contour Sexwale was formed in 1961, these are the people. Madiba was the name. These are the people who had to get all the resources to organize all the coordination. These are the people. When I say Contour Sexwale, I mean the original one. Brandhill Nchabeleng never suffered fools. Mpho was not body father, very young. He never suffered fools. That man was a straight keeper. He was unwavering, unswerving, very dedicated. I don't mention these things just because his eyes were here. I must say nice things about him. No. I was sent from the Soviet Union to stay with this man. These were the leadership. People were not looking at Ramkhaj, Joe Gabi, and others. And he had iron discipline. None of the Nchabeleng had discipline, iron. But he found that we are ready because we come from military schools. So to stay with him, and my name, Mpho Nchabeleng. So underground there, if the police come, what are you doing there? Hitleading again. But no, I'm supposed to have a disease when I stay there. Yeah, so he gave me that name, Mpho. But otherwise, my underground name was Solomon Asopa. In the documents which were printed in East but there in Brandhill. Unfortunately, it was the last minute. There is a movie called I Live That Movie. It was to research these things. But it's about Japan, the formation of Japan. Before they introduced weapons, they were still fighting in swords. My training is in karate. That's why I was very close to Japan. But I tried to fool around also with the swords of the samurai. I have them at home. My wife is afraid of me because I've got the samurai swords. But here I got Mpho. You know Mpho, his first way when he came here. He's so big and he's an author. But the first thing, my wife. Then let's go to the area. We go well excited. So I am discipline. I would tell you that I must acknowledge first. I mean, there are ministers here. Go to do so what I call Mandela, my wife. And so we understand you. And mine is dressed up in rain, so you know what's happening. In that movie, there's a man called, he's a living legend, he's a samurai fighter. His name is Musashi. At the end of a terrible battle, the emperor asked him, they asked somebody, how did Musashi die? And the answer was, let us tell you how he lived. About Mpho Nchabeleng, I want to add the following sentence. Let me tell you what he lived for. Books are written all the time. For knowledge, for education, for legacy, for memory, for heritage, for history, and other reasons. That's why we write books. The contents of books, these are the ideas, ideological standpoints and philosophies. There are philosophical points in the book. But there's a German person whose name I leave out. He was an editor, he was a journalist, he was an economist, he was a political theorist and a scientist, but was a philosopher as well. So these ideas lead to philosophies. And your book captures your own view of the world, which is a philosophy. This German scientist, top philosopher, he said ideas, philosophy has always, and philosophers have always interpreted the world. Mpho is not about interpretation. The task is to change the world instead of just interpreting it. The point of existence is to change the world. So let me say a few words about activism. Follow what you are saying. Follow your own pronouncements. Change your environment. You can write however many books. You can idealize, you can have philosophies. The task today is to change your own environment, not just to repeat it like a record, but also to change yourself. Our problem, the problem with which Nchabeleng had to confront, our problem as Africans, as South Africans, is a European problem. Our problem as Africans, as South Africans, is a European problem. They were fighting in Europe for 5,000 years. In the last 500 years, they decided to go to different parts of the world to look for resources. They went everywhere and they came here. took the land. That was our first major war. The real first war there was to defend that land. We speak about wars of dispossession. There was one war, many battles throughout South Africa from different people, different tribes. I run never to. Ngugai Toby writes a book, The Land is Ours. End of story. The land is ours. This is an unapologetic statement. It's a very painful truth to tell other people. And sometimes we have to be, uncomfortable. The land is ours. So Nchabeleng comes into that world. The land is ours. That's today. I won't tell you how he died and how he lived. I'll tell you what he lived for. The land is ours. So he joined an organization, Sexwale. We're in Washington. Sexwale. That's what we should have said in that meeting. Sexwale. It means wafa. Kaspo Zabare. Zempipo. Makwalandi. Ilizwe ifile. Once they say that, yeah man, I want to take your ex and it's a war. They took the land. Another author, you are joining Governor Mbeki, one of the earliest authors in your father's group. He wrote a book called The Peasant Revolt. It chronicles what our people went through fighting for their land. Write your own story. For if we don't write our own story, others will write it for you and they'll distort it for you. We should do so from generation to generation. I'm very happy to see young people here. Don't allow them to bury us. Don't allow them to bury your history. Don't allow them to bury even the name Mandela. They'll bury it. And then soon there's something about Hanakima. Your presence here means we are passing from mouth to mouth, from generation to generation, so that the resistance continues. The land is ours. Full stop. Yes, we can share with those that came, but it is ours. Why is it genocide? It's easy. Our friends in Palestine, we stand with them. Today the word genocide is used anyhow. We are the victims of genocide. You tell the people in that other house, we are the bad one. You want to talk about genocide? It happened here. There's the people here, the Khoi people, the Khikwas. They don't exist anymore. There is no tribe that has not gone through serious killings. We're the victims. So don't victimize us. And people wanting to change the story. Genocide, we understand what genocide is. We write for resistance, and for history, and for memory. When that war ended, I'm going towards the end. When the war of the land, they took the land. We tried another way, 1912 from the ANC, blah, 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 blah. They closed it in 1960. After 48 years of trying peace, we started another war. Swataho. Mpho sees the real. So that the second war, the first one was when we were resisting. And then after the defeat, again. That's why the ANC was formed by even by chiefs. The Matari, you know what happened? Like while like in 1960. Your father was one of those people who suffered. So they started, let's continue the war. The second one, they fell like in 1990. So they are let's try to work again. 1990 parliamentary, that's where we are today. How far are we going? Where's the land? Where's our resources? Where's our dignity? The jury is out. That question must be answered. You can't die and die. You want to go to another part of the world, it's yours here. We are leaving you without legacy. If you don't stand up and know at least the truth of where you come from, you won't know where you're going. You will know that he died. You'll even know how he died. You'll even know how he lived like a slave in this country. But you must understand what he lived for. He lived for this. So let's take that forward. This book is a calendar. There are many other books that must be read, that must be read. It was very depressing to see us having to validate and account for our own story in Washington. It was very distressing and hurtful to see it Itswegarabana. Because you know what? We receive people, it's good, and let's stay together. Oh, even when we are so kind, our generosity has been abused. Can't leave this world and buy things. We have children now. So what are they? What are they? You don't own the minerals under, you don't own the land on top, in the sky. Because above your land, in your own sky, where standing was to be still a country. What do we own? What do we own? But then how did we get here? How did we end up here? Failure of leadership. What we are seeing here, you young people must know, it's a self-inflicted wound by failure of leadership, and I'm one of them. They can't make a 40% today. Congress has got 40%. Now we are told it's lower. So Madingaha, through the vote. The people are not abandoning the Congress movement. The leadership is abandoning the people. If you do that, then they won't vote you. There is respond in kind. We are here because of the failure of leadership. Rautswa. Greed. Malcontent, maladministration. You pretty much want some of these things. When you want to address these things, but I say, that's not about what you get. What you get about what you get. And then you want to complain. You go to like Mama in other places. For abandoning the people, why are you surprised if they're coming? Again, we should try to find out where Nchabeleng was taking us. He lived for our birthright. Your birthright is your land. Your right of birth. He lived for social prosperity. You not pay the reward. So I'm not feel like I'm trying to do tricky groovy. From the other, I didn't do it right. This man lived for national sovereignty so that we have a country with its own borders where we are the owners and the bosses of our own country. He lived for national self-determination so that we can determine our own future. The last point, the book. I keep telling it this way. We live in the information age. The book is about information, about knowledge, education, and so on. Today's world is moving at such a fast pace of information. It's at the speed of light. All of you do. On your cell phones, on your laptops, on your computers. Right now, as we are talking, information is moving so fast. No one wake up, pull up, it cannot. So what are you taking? And there's distortions, false news, and so on. This is where you're launching the book into. It must fight for itself. This book will only survive when people who believe in it, who believe in what it stands for, will keep on talking about it from hill to hill, across the rivers, from city to city, from generation to generation. Otherwise, it will never survive in our current digital world, which is fast moving, very high technologies, and the data is this big. You know when you see my ring is here. The size of the data which you can contain here is all the books that have been printed in the world. The sum of the nations. That's the size of the data. So we are putting your book into that space, and it must survive. And other books, if we don't know what we're doing, it will be drowned. That is just a book. So it needs to be fought for. In the world of fake news, in the world of disinformations. But I think that this book, the struggle, it's a very bitter struggle. You know he writes, and you could see the passion. He's not a great talker, he's a good writer. He doesn't make great speeches. That's why I would organization is not a man of great speeches, but his weight is concrete. They'll take this work. They give it to an analyst in one of the local newspapers. And I ranch in one small column. That's where it ends. We're taking this word into with the world of hostilities. In a radio talk show, this book, it will come at hand. You won't recognize it. You know, when you don't write for yourself, they'll do these things for you and you'll come across disfigured and contorted. This is where this book should fight. You know, last week the news. Why do you think when there's news on television, radio, whatever, you know, they tell the news, such a thing happened. Okay, fine. How about this? Now we're going to call an expert. Who would like to get off? Just one person. Watch it, that's what they're going to do. They'll be an expert, an analyst, you know, in the space. A communicator, an influencer, a blogger. People are paid by some of these people. So the struggle, if we don't protect ourselves, we just say things for the sake of saying them, we will not see the future for which Nchabeleng lived. But batho fela ba o advertise ka bona, o jowa ka bona, o tlaula ka bona, we make nothing in reality. Remembered for nothing. I end by saying, I think we should say congratulations. It's a fact. It's a fight. This and many other books. But I wish I am Mandela. It's a fight. So far, we are the next communication. This, journalists, analysts, agents, who are outlining this. So the method was said, because in this instance, they not concerned of our method. We are prepared to share. We are prepared to help. But you know what? Full stop. This land, this country, these resources are ours. And you can't stay down and for that. You shall. But right now, things are difficult because we let our country be better with what we always produced. And I won't say how much.
Emukwele, the village of the Damo, I will not know how to respond to that, but suffice to say that we equally need to protect this particular book in particular, so that it's not for us, it's for the next generation after generation. I think once more, let's give him that discipline. Keep on enriching us as well. Don't try and be apologetic. We can only learn. You are, and I must attest to that, you are a living legend. And so we will draw some key lessons related around history and struggle and what you guys have gone through, and the debate and the journey is to continue. And we thank you for honoring us and for you being here and share this particular profound moment with us about the movement. We really appreciate it. And once more, love of course.